Alberto from Laredo, Texas. I was listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, episode 83. He and Conrad were talking about the 1998 Royal Rumble and the events leading up to it. They mentioned riots that were started at two house shows in Little Rock and Memphis. They go back and forth on what really happened. Can you tell me more about it? Yes, I can. And what is insane about that is that it happened back-to-back nights in two different markets. But I remember reading about this many, many years ago, and I may have even talked about it on the podcast once. If I did, it was a long time ago, so I had to kind of go back and just refresh my memory on this. But the Memphis show came first. That was on the 14th, and the main event of the Memphis show was scheduled to be Jerry Lawler. Of course, no surprise, he would be in the main event, in Memphis, teaming up with Jeff Jarrett against Shawn Michaels and Triple H as D-Generation X. So DX comes out for the main event. Crowd is very unruly because Shawn Michaels at the time, he was a heel and he would instigate people. He was like the Woody Woodpecker of WWE. He loved to instigate, and so he got people to throw stuff at him and chant stuff at him and all that. So they were throwing garbage at the ring. And supposedly Triple H, I think as the story goes, Triple H got hit in the eye with something hard enough that his eye began to swell up. And I don't know if Shawn got hit or just he felt like he might get hit. They were throwing all kinds of things. But Shawn just says, let's go. We're out of here. And they walked out before the match even started. They walked to the back. And people didn't quite know what to make of it at first. They started getting even more unruly. Lawler got on the mic. He tried to quell things a little bit. He said, look, if we chant his name, maybe he'll come back out. That didn't work. Shawn never did come back out. And a riot of sorts broke out with people throwing glass bottles and just all kinds of shit into and around the ring. And the show was called off at that point. Fast forward to the next night in Little Rock. This is on the 15th. Now remember, most people, if not everybody in Little Rock, probably had no idea what happened in Memphis the night before. This is 1997. It would be a very different world if this had happened even 10 years later, right? You would have social media. I mean, please, if there was a riot at a WWE show, we would know before the show was even over. Back then, you had internet bulletin boards and stuff like that, but, I'm willing to bet most people in that crowd the next night had no idea what happened the night before. So, the 15th, the next night, is a Monday night, and apparently the advertising around town in the weeks leading up to the show stated very specifically that this was a Monday Night Raw taping. So when people showed up that night, they expected to see a live Raw. What they did not know is that Raw had been taped the week before, and this was just a normal house show. That did not make people very happy at all. And on top of that, the card they got, as if that wasn't bad enough, the card they got absolutely sucked. They had matches like Kane against Chains from DOA. This show was DOA. Mark Merrow against Flash Funk. And there was a time where Mark Merrow, before the knee injury and everything, that him against Flash Funk actually sounds like it would be a pretty cool match. But, at the time, these were not the matches that people paid to come to see, right? They did get an Undertaker Rocky Maivia casket match. Apparently that only went about 5 minutes because Undertaker was working hurt. What else is new? In fact, the night before in Memphis, you just reminded me that Undertaker worked a casket match the night before as well. And when he walked to the back after the match, because again, the crowd was being very unruly, they weren't just throwing things and chanting things, they were spitting. And I remember reading that when The Undertaker walked to the back after his match in Memphis the night before, his outfit was covered in spit. Some people were spitting on the wrestlers as they walked to the back. I'm not sure if that happened the next night also, but they were definitely throwing things. So on the Little Rock show, they also had a ceremony. They were honoring Danny Hodge, who is somebody that Jim Ross has often talked about. And, he's, a legendary wrestler. He was a big star in that area many years ago. That's why they were doing a ceremony in Little Rock. And of all people, somebody decided in their infinite wisdom that, who would be the best person to have in the ring to do the presentation with Danny Hodge? I know. Let's have Shawn Michaels, the top heel. And maybe in their mind, he was the champion, and so they felt he should be the one to do it. Maybe Shawn pushed for it. I don't know. But especially given what happened the night before, and as much of a heel as he was, not the smartest thing to have him be the one in the ring to present the award. I think it was a plaque that they were giving to Hodge. So naturally, what happened? People booed throughout the entire ceremony, which I'm sure put Shawn in a lovely mood heading into the main event that night. So when he and Hunter came out later on for the main event, Shawn got hit with something. I don't know what it was, but he got hit with something. He took the mic and he said, "All you people throwing shit in the ring, you just lost your main event." And they walked out again. Again! And that's when things got really ugly. People were throwing chairs. Some people actually started fires in the arena. There's one photo of the aftermath. If you search around, it's just a photo of the ring. And you can see there's debris everywhere, but you can see smoke all around ringside. It wasn't a TV taping. There was no pyro. That smoke was because people were setting fires inside the building. State police got called in. They actually had to use tear gas to subdue the crowd. Some people were asking for refunds. They were denied. So there was a second little smaller riot that broke out in the parking lot before the cops broke it up. It was a mess. It was a complete disaster. Some people went to the hospital. I'm sure there was just probably thousands of dollars in damage. And things were bad both nights. And the fans, bear a lot of responsibility here because you can't be throwing batteries and glass bottles and setting fires, okay, like a bunch of Neanderthals. You can't do that. But both nights, it really didn't degenerate. I mean, no pun intended. It didn't really degenerate into the mess that it did until Shawn Michaels and Triple H walked out. That's when things got really out of hand. And I don't want to blame Michaels on this one, only because if he really did get hit by stuff, and if people are even if it didn't hit you, if I'm in the ring and I feel unsafe and people are throwing things, including hard glass objects around, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have hightailed it out of there. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to stick around for that. I didn't sign up for that. But it happened both nights, and both times it just so happened to involve Shawn Michaels. And so I'm also not at all surprised that a riot back then would have been started by him.